before I get into how I feel about it, which I do definitely have some, I think, mixed opinions about the show itself. I am interested in how you guys are feeling about it, because the new episode comes out literally in like 2 hours, I think, and I'll definitely watch that. I definitely played the game. I don't watch until I play games, but I don't have a PlayStation, so yeah, no spoilers, I guess. I will talk about this. Well, if people don't want spoilers, I guess I'll try to talk about this in as spoiler-free a way as possible. Because if this is going to be a video anyway, I guess I shouldn't make spoilers for it. The new episode is out now. Okay, well, it shows what I know. But yeah, I think that the main issue that I have with the show is, well, I mean, okay, there's like a few. There's the pacing, I think, is really, really off. And the fact that there's only 7 episodes, I think, is kind of insane. I feel like it fell off a bit, and not sure if Bella Ramsey can carry the show herself on one of the spoilers. Tell us. We'll see. So, and again, I think I like made a complete video about this, but if you guys want to have like the back and forth about it too, like I'm definitely open. But having 7 episodes in the season, I think is ridiculous. There is no possible way. So The Last of Us 1. So I recently replayed that like last year, like middle of last year. And then I replayed all through The Last of Us 2. In The Last of Us 1, I remembered it being much longer, but it really only comes in at right around like 12 to 14 hours, right? So, I mean, and even then, like season 1 was 9 episodes, and some of the episodes just like didn't even deal with like Joel and Ellie. So it was relatively even condensed in season 1, but it worked well because in one of the videos that I talked about, it was like, hey, yeah, like The Last of Us season 1 is not just about Joel and Ellie anymore. It's about literally like in big, like kind of like quotes, the last of us, like as in humanity, you know, like it dives into people far, far away from Joel and Ellie through flashbacks or just through different, you know, seeing the different experiences and how people live in the world. And the difference between season 1 and season 2 is that, random a beautiful background, thank you. The difference between season 1 and season 2 is that season 2 only really focuses on Joel and Ellie. Well, I should say it's supposed to, but then it just doesn't. It tries to be as big picture as season 1, but in a way that doesn't work because it's kind of very difficult, I think, to step back from a main character dying so abruptly to then just have whole sections of the show that don't really deal with like the conflict of getting vengeance that Ellie wants, or anything that really has to do with like, I think, playing upon what it really means to deal with that sudden like parental death. There's large parts of the show that kind of seem to be either too fast in some areas and then too slow in others. I don't know, it's stale. It's like weird because obviously it's not completely stale, but I think the whole point is that like it's stale insofar that like some of the stuff just doesn't relate to the conflict. Like I think there might have been maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours of gameplay before Joel dies, and I'm just gonna say that, like, if you don't know at this point, like, why are you here? Before Joel dies in the game, and Joel in the show dies right around like the 2 hour mark, in episode 2, and then in game there maybe is like 30 minutes maybe of gameplay before you're in Seattle, because Ellie and Dina like are immediately pretty much going there, and you're fighting off scars, and the WLF and clickers and all that kind of stuff. But in the show, episode 3 is like a whole hour of just starting to get into the conflict, and then episode 4 is them just getting to Seattle and then fighting like a group of people, and then episode 5 is similar, and then episode 6 is a whole flashback not even dealing with Seattle. So like in episode 6, again, I think is really, really good, but it's, I don't know, there's a lot of changes from the games that are being made that I don't think necessarily are better than what the game was doing, because to me the game is like a masterclass in storytelling. Weird to have a show go from everyone having everyone love it to hate it so fast. So there's a lot of discourse online, and if you were paying attention, I've been kind of like plugged into the Last of Us discourse for like a while now. Season 2 was always going to be hated. Like, if you know anything about the fandom of The Last of Us, it was never going to be non-controversial. Basically, like, a bunch of like bigots and sexists and people who make video games their entire identity rooted out everybody else who liked The Last of Us, and then kind of like took over the online community, and they're angry that, you know, Ellie was gay, or that Abby was buff, or that Lev is trans, which I think is really lame. Like, I don't have enough energy to be angry at people being different than me. And I think the season was always going to be very much like marred by those people who had already convinced themselves that they weren't going to like it, not liking it. I miss mommy Abby. Don't we all? I was curious to see how bad things got after Joel's death happened, let alone the entire Abby thing. Yeah, if you had not played the games, that's like one of the biggest things in modern gaming is Joel's death. And they really drug their feet, I think, with dealing with Joel's death, and I think the meaningful way that the games immediately rush into. Like, I'm sorry, I just don't need to see them not leaving Jackson for like a whole episode. I don't need to see Jackson being destroyed by like zombies for like 20 minutes out of a whole episode. I would have been fine if Joel died episode 1, honestly, especially since there's like 7 episodes. My opinion is Bella's taking the hit for the show. I'm a gay man. I have to say they focus too much on Bella's gay relationship with that Hispanic chick. I don't even know if it's like they focus too much on that relationship. They just don't focus on the right things at all. Like, I'm sorry. We had like a whole section of the episode dedicated to Isaac torturing a Scar over information, when, as far as I know, this season isn't dealing with the WLF at all. Like, why are we seeing the leader of the Wolves torture a captive for info when that info isn't even going to be pertinent until next season, which may not come out for like 2 years? That's the stuff I'm talking about. Like, I don't particularly understand why a lot of what's happening is happening as far as how the seasons are being broken up, because as far as I know, it's 3 seasons of the show. They need to focus on grief more. That's kind of like what I'm saying. I got this feeling almost that like that Ellie and Dina are almost having fun in some situations with the adventure, and that's like the complete opposite in the game. Obviously, if you've played it, like it's nonstop, and the game is really heavy, and a lot of people didn't necessarily like how overwhelmingly traumatic and heavy the game is, but I think that's what the game is, and to me it's a bit genuine, I think, to the experience, because Ellie has obviously a really complicated and horrible relationship with Joel, and you see it play out in how she reacts to everything happening in Seattle because of just like how terrible the experience is. And not to say that it's been like a cakewalk for Dina and Ellie in the show, but it definitely hasn't been nearly as torturous as it was in the games, nor as lengthy, I think, nor even as with the human reflection on what is being done, because that's the whole thing. Like, Ellie's almost losing her humanity, and that's the journey of the game. It's like, how far do we push revenge and just doing horrible things because we want to see people suffer? And by the end of the game, spoilers, she has to come face to face with that. And I don't think that's necessarily happening here. We get a little bit of it, obviously, when she tracks down, I forget the chick's name, in the hospital in the Red Room. But like, I don't know, it's still not doing what I thought it was going to be doing as a show. Love your Blood of One's Blood inspiration video support. Thank you so much. They are a passion to make. They basically focus on it until the end. They're basically just friends who made it out until 2 episodes. Exactly. Show equals maybe the real reason Apocalypse was the friends we made along the way. Yeah, it's so crazy because there's just like a complete blueprint to follow in the game, and they've proven that they can make things from the game better, right? I think episode 6 is an improvement on many aspects of the game. I think a lot of the choices that they made with the characters, the dialogue, the interactions, going year by year, seeing that kind of stuff, I thought it was a marked improvement. And the game is still good when it comes to, that's probably my favorite flashback in the entire Last of Us 2 game, and they were able to improve upon it. And so I know that they have the capabilities to. I just have no idea why they're making some of the pacing choices that they are, like the things that they're focusing on. It seems really, really weird. The one time they could adapt the game really well, and they basically said, no, that's too much trauma and time period, where that's literally all we talk about today. I don't know. Yeah, it's to I think be concerned about The Last of Us having too much trauma. And again, I don't know if that's necessarily like the reason why the season is the way that it is, but to I think make The Last of Us 2 less focused on grief, trauma, heartache, and again, kind of like the insidious, torturous experience of being in pain over the loss of a loved one and then spreading that pain to others, for them to basically kind of like wash away a lot of that and I think deal with it in not as excruciating a way, almost feels like a waste of why you're even telling that story anyway. It's almost as if someone were to try to make Coco and then be like, oh, but we don't want to make it as sad because people might be affected by it too much. And like, to me, Coco's an incredibly sad movie, but it's perfect. I think Coco is one of my few perfect movies, but I think that's the whole point of it from an artistic expression, is that like the whole thing is about this theme and this feeling that it evokes, and to try to water it down a bit, I think loses a lot of what the whole thing is even supposed to be. If you can guess, what do you think are some possible reasons for the pacing issues and other changes for better or worse? First of all, obviously, a lot of it comes down to, like, let's be honest, just money. Like, this is a pretty expensive show. It's not like Game of Thrones expensive, but it's an expensive show. Like, and they're already trying to do 3 seasons. And as showrunners, it's kind of their job to make sure that like they have the budget for what they want. Like, I don't think HBO is ever going to cancel the show, but I shudder to think of what actually is like being told to the showrunners as far as like what they can do as far as money wise and plan for versus what they actually like want to do, right? And if they overstep, because there's so many shows going on in HBO, and sure, this is kind of like their flagship or one of their flagship ones, but you have stuff like The Freaking Rehearsal, who probably Nathan Field is probably like getting $8 million an episode or something like that to do nonsense. So I think anytime you have a 7-episode season, anything kind of like less than the standard 9 to 10, it used to be 12, I think you're dealing with budgeting issues, or at least budgeting concerns. The next thing I think is the fact that I think that they weren't interested in even slightly trying to adhere closely to the video game. I think, again, their idea was, let's pull off the same thing that we did with the first season, but let's just do it in a more like directed, slightly more Ellie focused way in the second season. But it's just not really working well, because I think continuously stepping away from Ellie, like, again, I don't really care about Gale that much. I could have had the whole scene with Eugene and Gale without ever mentioning Gale before, right? And that's the thing, I might actually make a video about this. I thought about this earlier. So if we all are caught up, it's the second season curse, kinda. Yeah, that's where the only reason I want to write is to emotionally damage others. That might be a therapy conversation. But if you guys have seen the most recent episode where Joel confronts Eugene and Eugene's like, I know I'm going to die, but I just really want to see my wife's face. I personally, my hot take is they didn't need to show us who Gale was before even meeting Eugene. Like, obviously, does it give a bit more power to the scene that we like can see her face and whatnot? Sure, but that's not like the point of the scene. Like, we're not mourning for Gale, especially since we see her afterwards too. We're not mourning for Gale in that scene. We're mourning for Ellie in that scene, because we get to see Joel essentially not really have learned his lesson at all. And Ellie gets to see it firsthand, and we see her heart break and turn into the person that we see in the present, right? Because it's a flashback. That's the point. Ellie is and Eugene, but they're both the victims here. Gale is merely kind of like a narrative tool to be able to get us where we are. And I think, again, there's a fascination by Craig Mazin, who is a good writer, but I think there's a fascination with him to be able to explore the much more like human elements of the show. And that means stepping away and like giving people screen time just being people. And that might work for like a Tarantino film, but like, I don't know, spending a whole bunch of time with Abby, spending a whole bunch of time with Isaac, spending a whole bunch of time with Gale, even like I think humanizing Seth more. To me, it's a bit of a wasted opportunity if you're gonna have 7 episodes. I don't know, it seems a bit like they wanted to have their cake and eat it too, but then it ended up like just burning the whole thing. Like there's nothing really edible there. Telling a single game story across 2 seasons is immensely challenging. That one game was intended to be all one thing. Then you have to split it. I mean, they're splitting it across like 3 seasons. Writing is difficult to translate to movie too at times. Writing is difficult. Anytime you're transferring across mediums, it's incredibly difficult because mediums are completely different. No mediums are like, even like, I don't want to say remotely the same because like they do have similarities, but like it's really different. Every single thing that you think of as far as like representing something on the page versus on the screen versus on the stage versus on like radio requires a ton of consideration. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this last episode tonight. I am curious to see what they end up actually doing. Writing is difficult, blank, I'm quitting. I mean, writing is difficult, but yeah, whatever they do tonight, I'll have to try to reserve any type of, I think, bias that I'm coming in with, because obviously that's the thing. It's like I'm always going to grade it against the game. If I grade it against the game, it's a lot worse. If I grade it just its own show, it's like, okay. And I have to figure out like the proper balance for all that. But I want to know why they are writing Ellie so poorly. I don't even think they're writing Ellie poorly. I just don't think they're writing Ellie to be what she needs to be believable and entertaining, in the sense of having just lost Joel. Modern shows have seasons that are just way too short. Good examples has been Hotel. I have other issues with the show, but it could have been better if it didn't only have 8 episodes. Oh, I mean, this season has 7 episodes. Last season had 9 episodes. It's the actress, she has no charisma. That is the dumbest thing you've said, Carlos. Bella Ramsey is a very good actress. She was very good as freaking Lyanna Mormont, and she was very good in season 1, and she's very good in season 2. I just don't think that what they're giving her to work with as far as like the show, and like putting her in position to, I think, interact with narrative elements and plot points, I don't think they're doing a good job. Because like, I don't like, Dina and Ellie haven't really done much in the 2 episodes that they've been in Seattle. It's way more, I think, about the writing overall than like starting to blame individual actors. Because if you watch these or episode like 6 and like you came away thinking that Bella Ramsey has no charisma and can't act, I don't know, like that's that's wild. But yeah, I don't know. I'll watch the new episode tonight and I'll get my opinions on it.